Okay. So hello, Mike Kako, and good morning. Mahalo for tuning in. Looks like another gorgeous day here in paradise. Welcome to yet another exciting exploration of all things Senate District 21. Undoubtedly, the most beautiful Senate district in the entire state. I hope you and your ohana are doing well. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I call them Listen Story because the purpose of the meeting is for me to listen to you, my constituents. So normally I'll talk for about 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning and then bring you up to speed on community and legislative updates. But occasionally we have guest speakers like today. And so we're going to start with our special guest, City and County Department of Transportation Services Director Roger Morton, who's going to provide us with an update on the Makakilo Drive extension, Kapolei Parkway, and more. And then there's going to be time for questions and answers at the end of his presentation. And then following Director Morton's updates, I'll give you some community updates and I'll leave time for Q&A at the end. If you don't get to speak, we run out of time, please send me an email and we'll follow up with your issue or concerns. And by the way, unless we have technical problems, these meetings, my Listen Story meetings, they start promptly at 9 and they finish promptly at 10. So, brief bio on Director Morton. He is the Director of the Department of Transportation Services for the City and County of Honolulu. He began his transit career with DTS in 1974. He joined the bus in 1979 and has held several senior positions. He was president and general manager of the bus for the past 13 years. He'll speak for about 15 minutes and then we'll have about 15 minutes for Q&A. So welcome, Dr. Morton. The road is yours. Excuse me. The Zoom floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the promotion, Mike. I'm not a doctor, but I have been involved in transportation for many, many years. And I'm happy to be here and aloha to the community. Well, you wanted me to speak about, first of all, about Makakilo Drive extension. And I thought I would start there and tell you where it's at. And as most of you have been following the history of this project, in the prior administration, there was a preliminary engineering study that was done and was largely completed. It's about 60% completed. As you know, the extension, has to go through a gulch type area, and they had various designs. First, a bridge design, which was very expensive, and then later the designers designed a fill alternative, which reduced the cost of the extension by about looked like about 30% or so to I think in the area of 65 million. That's exclusive of many things like property acquisition and so on, and it's probably also a dated number. My guess is a project of that magnitude would probably be, if we entered into final design and construction, we'd probably be looking at maybe 150 million more. Now, when we switched from the bridge option to the fill option, that involved additional environmental studies requirements, and some of those were done. It is what is left is and as you know, what's left is for federal highways to sign off on an environmental assessment. But the policy of federal highways is that they will not sign off on, or they won't take the time and evaluate an environmental study like that unless the project has a definite time frame within the next 10 years. The project is not currently on the TIP, although it is on the regional plan, the long range regional plan. And I know the community has asked, well, how do we get this facility back on the TIP?
Roger, excuse me, would you just explain TIP for
I'm sorry, sure. I get into the acronyms. Yep. The ORTP, the Oahu Regional Transportation Plan, the TI, and that's a long range plan. That's a 25 to 30-year plan of where we would be spending our transportation dollars. And just a little bit about the process. The process is actually organized by the Oahu Transportation, by the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization, the OMPO. And the purpose of it is nationwide, is they set up MPOs to coordinate regional transportation. Hawaii is a little different because we only really have the state and the city. Whereas on the mainland, you might have you have states, multiple counties, and multiple municipalities. So, but nonetheless, it's a good place for us, for our state and county partners to sort of sit down and map out where we're going to put our transportation. And the result of that in the short term is the TIP, or the Transportation Improvement Program. The TIP lists highway projects, transit projects, bikeway projects, and all of those projects. There's probably 120 projects or so in the TIP between the state and the city. Now, one thing about the Transportation Improvement Program, which is key, is that it is fiscally constrained. In other words, over a 4-year period, the TIP, when you take for each project, has to show where the money is coming from. Now, largely the TIP we use it in Hawaii to prioritize federal funding. And so it shows what are the federal sources, first of all, and they're not unconstrained, they're finite. So what can we expect in the next 4 years in terms of federal highway money, in terms of Federal Transit Administration money, and what kind of projects can those expected monies support? That's the TIP, and that's the key for it, is so that there is certainty. The federal government wants to make sure that that projects are viable, and they have that. So when we get that, that's how we do it. So how would the community get a project like the Makakilo extension back on the TIP? And that there is a call for projects. We're on the last year of our 4-year program. It's kind of a funny program. We update it really every 3 years, but it goes for a 4-year period, and in between we amend it. But the new program is coming up in about 1.5 years. And so at that point, there'll be a call for projects. There's already existing projects. And then there'll be an opportunity for technical studies by the UMPO staff, consultation with my office and with the State Department of Transportation, and a prioritization of projects. Now, for the Makakilo extension, it's a costly project. It's probably, as I say, about 150 million. That would be my guess. Would be what it would be, and that would be for a stretch of roadway which, is less than a mile long. I mean, it's certainly, I've gone to the end. I've actually driven right up from the bottom through the gravel road up to the top. So it's not a deep big distance, but it is an expensive undertaking. Now, where we ended up with was on the fill position was the Waihole ditch. And that still needs to be resolved as to how would we preserve this historical ditch, which federal rules require us to figure out a way to mitigate the impact if we were to have a roadway there. The latest one I saw, and I notice I do have one of my staff, Kelly Akasaki, on the line, so she can correct me if I'm wrong because she managed the project. But one of the issues with that is that would take a massive engineering effort of a huge retaining wall in order to protect that. So the bigger problem for myself is, if we dedicated 150, 200 million to the Makakilo extension, then that takes away projects from other places on the island. And so it's really a question of prioritizing. It's both an engineering issue of how would we do this? Would we do the fill? Would we protect the ditch? And then it's also an issue of, if we did do this, then what would we not allocate funds for in other parts of the island? And so that's where we stand at this point. I know you said to take questions at the end, but I'll be happy to take a couple of quick questions here because I know it's a hot issue. If that's okay with you, Senator.
Yes, please. Any questions? If you have a question, just go ahead and start and turn your mic on. Mr. Welch has a question. He's got his hand up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I posted my comments in the chat, but since not everyone knows how to access them, I will reiterate them briefly here. Makakilo, which houses thousands of residents, is in close proximity to Campbell Industrial Park, which includes a refinery and other chemical processing facilities. Campbell Industrial Park has emergency procedures in case of a chemical release, but the plan for Makakilo residents has long been to, quote, shelter in place. In other words, stay here and see what happens. Shelter in place could result in severe respiratory problems for many residents. The only other alternative is for thousands of residents to all drive down Makakilo Drive at the same time towards the potential release from Campbell Industrial Park. In other words, in the direction you would not want to go if you had any choice at all. The long delayed Makakilo Drive extension connecting to what used to be called the North-South Road, I forget the name of it now, that interchange would allow thousands of residents to evacuate away from any potential release of hazardous materials. In other words, away from it. Are the members of the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization aware of these facts? Thank you. That's what I wanted
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Roger, would you like to respond?
Sure. I certainly don't, think that the project is a worthy project. Don't get me wrong. That I'm not saying that it's not a worthy project. There are, many other communities on Oahu with a single access out. The issue of picking the one in Campbell Industrial Park.
Slowly,
Hang on.
touch.
Okay.
It's not.
Hang on. Let him finish. Go ahead, Roger.
So for myself, I mean, I definitely hear that the issue. Again, it comes down to one of prioritization at the end of the day.
All right, next is, please just put your hand up. Frank Genadio is next, and then we'll go with Joe Page after Frank.
Yeah, the last time the drive appeared in the tip, and it's been in there off and on for years, including construction money. But the last time in the 2015 to 2018 tip, the project cost was $46,400,000. I don't know where the 150 million came from. And the main question is, we have asked for the final design to be shown to the neighborhood board. That final design has been ongoing for a number of years. So I'd appreciate if Director Morton can give us a date for when the final design is complete, because that's the only thing holding us from trying to get construction money for this drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Roger?
Frank, nice to hear your voice again. It's been some years. We have completed 60% design. We have that, and certainly we can make that available to the community of what we have. We'd probably do that on some kind of disc, because as you can imagine, it's a very voluminous document. But I have no issue at all in providing the designs that we have to date to the community.
And Roger, any sense of when you'll finish the rest of the 40%?
Well, again, the issue would be one of FHWA will not fund a project until we complete the 60% design, and they won't, so they need to see it on the TIP before they would before we could go further with the design, before they would allow us to enter into final design.
I see. Okay, Joe Page.
Yes, thank you, and thanks to all for being here. And Senator Gabbard, thank you very much for having this meeting, and Mr. Morton for enlightening us. From a little research that I've done, we've got about 20,000 folks or so, I think, in the Makakilo area.
19,000, I think.
Say again?
19,000.
19,000. Okay, so off by one, but close enough. The issue for me, and I appreciate the Campbell industrial area issue, but for me, I just my nightmare is some sort of awful storm or hurricane or something. It's going to knock down trees. It's just going to make Makakilo Drive impassable. And to get emergency vehicles, in and out of the area, the elegant solution appears to be the Makakilo Drive extension. And I'm just hoping something happens before we have a genuine emergency. Having said that, I was just curious, Roger, there appears to be federal funding involved with this project, potentially at least. And what percentage of the funding would be federal?
Okay, so normally what would happen for us is most of the federal highways money, all of it, in fact, goes to the state of Hawaii. And then they sub-allocate money to the city and county. Typically, they sub-allocate about 21 million a year right now. And that's up this year from 17 million in prior years. Now, if we had a larger project like this, it's conceivable that the state could allocate more money to us. That would be a state decision. And the federal local share for a project like this is normally 80% federal, 20% local. But again, you have to have the federal share, and then you have to demonstrate that you have the local share. So federal money is not finite. Only so much comes into the state every year. And it's based on a formula. It's not largely based on a formula. There are some discretionary programs where you go out and you compete for them. But apart from that, the bulk of the federal funding comes in on a formula basis.
Just may I follow up with one
Sure.
thing, and that's very helpful. My impression, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, though, is there's been a lot of funding that has been applied to the Makakilo Drive extension over the last 20 years or however long, but a lot of it's been taken away because of priorities for other projects. And is that a correct statement?
I don't want to answer because in the TIP, there are two categories of projects. There's what they call illustrative projects. Those are projects that exceed the constraint. And then there's sort of dedicated projects that are at it. Now, I know Makakilo was in the TIP, but I don't know whether it was an illustrative project or whether it was a committed project. But it has been going in and out over the years, and I would do that, and it remains as part of our long range transportation plan, which is a separate plan. That's the good news, because a project really needs to be in the long range plan before it would be considered in a shorter range TIP plan. So the challenges for the community are basically, if it can be proposed. If it is proposed, it'll be evaluated both on fiscal purposes and also on the regional goals and objectives that are included in the longer range plan. That's the process that the technical folks go through. Ultimately, TIPs are approved by what's called the policy board. I'm a member of that board, as are state representatives, state senators, and city council members.
Okay, Roger, in terms of kind of a follow-up on that, in terms of, you had mentioned other projects can you just explain to everyone who makes the final decision?
The final decision is made by the policy board.
Policy board. Okay, great. And I think we have Joe Babich has a question. Joe? Microphone, Joe.
Okay. Hearing me now?
Yep.
Okay. It was said that there are several or many single entrance and exit neighborhoods on Oahu. And I'm wondering, in terms of population, where is Makakilo on that list?
Probably second
After what?
after the coast, Waianae coast.
Yeah, okay.
I think Waianae has about 33,000, 34,000. Makakilo has 19,000. I know Pacific Palisades is much smaller. So certainly, you know, I mean, as I say, I don't think the extension is without merit at all.
Well, it seems that on Waianae, there are several directions you can drive in to escape a problem, which doesn't exist here.
I mean, each community has their own, right? I mean, coastal communities have great exposure to both tsunami and to hurricane and wave and flood damage. So, you know, being high up is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay, next question is from Deborah.
So I actually have two questions. One is, living in Makakilo, it feels like there's more than 19,000 people up here. And I'm wondering what that population data is from, what year it's from, because I've been hearing the same numbers for a few years, but it seems like Makakilo keeps growing. There's more building, right? And then my other question is, with the quarry at the interchange of the North-South Road, does that have any impact in a negative way in terms of getting this extension built? In other words, are they getting preference because they're sitting at where we would be building the road? Thank you.
Well, yeah, if we were to build a road, we would need to mitigate the damage, the impacts that we would have to the quarry and to all of those things. There are some challenges in that because of the slope of the road and you know, the heavy trucks that go up the road. But I don't think those would be insurmountable. I think that they would be engineering issues that would need to be resolved. They're not necessarily easy, but I don't think that they would be insurmountable. And I'm sorry, the second part of the question? What
is that population data from? What year?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the year, but it's I believe it's fairly recent. It is certainly within 2 or 3 years old, and it is from the Census Bureau.
Okay, thank you.
Next is John Rogers.
Hi, Mr. Morton. I'm John Rogers, Westlock. I'm sorry, Evan Neighborhood Board, and so I'm going to switch it up. I'm sorry, everybody, but I wanted to get my opportunity. Is that okay, Senator?
Sure.
Okay. So, and I'm on the mayor's advisory committee for bicycling and HPF.
John, excuse me. Is this related to Makakilo Drive?
No.
Okay, just hang on. Let me just get.
Okay.
I've got one other question. Frank, did you want to do a follow-up?
Yes, I certainly do.
Okay.
There's something called the Transportation for Oahu Plan 2025. It was published in March of 2001, and the extension of Makakilo Drive was listed on it. At that time, the top does not mention the East-West Road, Kapolei Parkway extension through West Kapolei, Kamakilo Boulevard, a Roosevelt Road connection, or Kama'aha Avenue. All these projects have been completed and we haven't even started. And this has been a baited switch for 20 years now. And I think the idea of environmental issues, the Federal Highways Administration, it's all a dodge to keep the Department of Transportation Services for putting the road on the tip. Thank you.
You know, roads like the Makakilo extension normally are done by developers, as are many of the roads that Frank mentioned. They're normally done by developers, and then they're dedicated to the city. So it's not, when the city undertakes it, we did the north-south road. That was a city project. But many of the roads that were mentioned are developer provided roads that are later deeded to the city.
Okay. John Rogers, now you can start. We have, Joe, you have one more on Makakilo?
If I may, I'm sorry.
Okay, last question, and then we'll move on to John.
I was prompted by something, Roger, that said the environmental impact statement. We had a similar meeting to this a little over a year ago. There was a town hall, and I know one of the issues then was the original environmental impact statement, the EIS for the project, had expired because over 10 years had gone by, and that a new one was needed. And my question is simply, where do we stand on that particular issue right now? Thank you.
Kelly can jump in and help me out on this a little bit, but as I understand that the 106 requirement that we have, which is historic preservation, has not been resolved at this point. Kelly, can you just help me out on that detail?
Hi, yes. So in 2009, the original EIS was approved for the bridge option. Because we're coming in with the fill option, Federal Highways is making us redo the EIS. The EIS is in draft form, and that has been sent to Federal Highways, but they will not review it until it goes back on the stip and tip. So it's already drafted, it's ready to go, which is why we're stuck at the 60%. But until they review it and it goes back on the stip and tip, they can help us proceed with the Waiahole ditch issue. And then if we have to build this 85-foot wall. So that's where we are at. It's ready to go. It just has to get back on the stip and tip.
John Shockley, you had your hand up. Is it Makakilo Drive Extension? Mike, turn your mic on, John. Your mic, John Shockley, can you hear me?
His note in the chat says he can't unmute.
Cannot unmute. Okay. Hang on, then we'll go to John Rogers. All right, John.
Thank you, Senator. I'm sorry, everybody. And hopefully I'll be quick. So, Mr. Morton, you know I'm a bike guy, right, with HBL and all that. And so I guess, I don't know how to say this. So one of the issues that I have with the city, the state has a nice, beautiful map that they have a website, and you can see all the projects that they're planning, that are doing right now, that they're planning in the future, and they have a status. And I'm just wondering, is there any way that
I'm muted. Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, John Rogers.
Okay, yeah, is that something that we can have more transparency with the project that you're doing? Because one of my big issues is that just understanding like
John Roger, excuse me, John Shockley, you need to mute your John Shockley, you need to mute. Okay, wait till John Rogers. You're next, John. Okay, go ahead.
So then one of the big issues is like trying to understand with the Oahu bike plan, because we really, you have this beautiful bike plan. It has priority lists, and trying to understand how we can get those bike facilities on the priority list when you're doing work on certain roads. Like for me, it would be Kapolei Parkway or any of the roads. And sir, I'd like to say one thing is thank you for the Papipi Road, the road bumps that you put in there, and we're looking forward to the raised crosswalk. And I also would like to advocate for Eva elementary school on Renton Road needs a look at, and maybe even a complete streets plan. But so that's my question is.
So those are a lot that I can unpack a little bit for you too, John. Yeah, I think the Oahu bike plan does have, it shows all the proposed routes, as you know, and is very, very, very comprehensive. I mean, when you look at the Kapolei area, and you look at the proposed, I mean, I think sometimes it looks like there's more lines than roads for that. But here's the good news, that number one, I'm very pro bikeway and where we can, and I think we have not prioritized it as much as we should. So sitting right now in the House version of the appropriations bill, which has been passed by the House, is 4.8 million for us to match with 1.2 million of local money, so that we can start planning for our what we're calling our South Shore Bike Plan, which will basically go through from Nanakuli to UH, and will include a lot of effort in that. Now, we're doing that in cooperation with the state. The state applied, but did not receive a discretionary grant to provide for construction of that. And our project is basically to go in and to improve our main bikeways where they need improvement. There's many bridges, as you know, on many of the main paths that really need to be replaced, and those are fairly expensive. You know, I mean, they're not in terms of roadways, but for bikeways, those are pretty expensive things to do. So at this point, that's where our priority is. It's on the South Shore because that's where the people are, and that's what our priority will be. Now, you can, as I say, the appropriation is sitting in the bill. I believe it will pass. It does need to go to the Senate, to the United States Senate for that, but. At the United States Senate, the chair of the appropriate committee is no other than our senior senator, Senator Schatz. So I think we have a pretty good shot of getting that as basically what's called an earmark. And I agree with you, John. I mean, I think that we have not put enough emphasis into our bikeway plans. I know I've told you that we do have a $4.8 million bikeway plan that we're starting right now, which is our North King Street bikeway plan, and that's going to be an important link to provide people with an alternative to Nimitz Highway if they're coming in from the western side of the island, is just to get a safer route in that way. So agree with you. Please stay involved. We will be reaching out to the community as we get finality and get these monies actually appropriated to us.
Okay.
Just one more thing, sir.
Sure.
So all this beautiful bike plan that you have, the South Shore Trail, one of the major issues is it's not on a long range plan. So like Leeward Bikeway Phase 2, I would call that Leeward Bikeway Phase 2 from Kapolei to Waianae. That's not on it's not on ORTP. It was once it's gone through a whole iteration. Now it's just the Leeward Bikeway, which goes from Halava to Kapolei. And so that Phase 2 needs to be on the long range plan.
All right, thank you, John.
Yeah.
And now we'll take John Shockley. John, unmute. Find your mute button, John. Okay, while John's looking, Roger, we had a question here from Mike Goliu. When will the signal lights be energized near the FBI facility at Roosevelt, Enterprise, and Fort Barrett?
Kelly, can you help me with that one? I didn't expect that one. I assume the lights are in at this point?
No, so that intersection actually is not city jurisdiction. It's
Oh, okay. That's good.
We do have a road dedication memorandum of agreement for many roads in Kapolei that are still to be signed by Hawaii Housing and Finance and the city. I know there's an outstanding memorandum of agreement that includes several intersections as well, among other things.
Okay. John Shockley, were you able to get your John? No. Okay. Roger, did you have anything else that you wanted to add besides Makakilo Drive Extension?
I know that in the invitation, you asked me to comment on Kama'aha Avenue and Kapolei Parkway. We do have, I've looked and I've discussed it with staff. I think that everybody agrees that a traffic signal is warranted there. I think there is a plan to put one in there, but in the interim, it's a stop sign. It's a stop sign controlled intersection for which there's been some large accidents in that one. So our staff has a draft plan to do a mandatory right turn from both approaches that would require a U-turn to either go through the intersection or to go left onto Kapolei Boulevard. It is a draft plan now. We've shared it. I'm sharing it with them. It's out there for discussion, and it would be an interim plan until we get traffic lights in at that point.
Okay.
But it would be an alternative to the single stop signs that we have on both approaches right now, which have I think our staff has agreed that something should be done to improve safety at that intersection.
Okay. All right, Deborah, you've got a question?
Since we're going slightly off topic, this is about Makakilo, but it's the bus service.
Okay.
I've noticed that I live on the 411 line, and that bus runs pretty much every 30 minutes, 20 hours a day. And it's mostly empty. It's gotten to be a joke. I count the people on it. I see it go by. 1, 2, 3, if we're lucky, 5 at rush hour. And this route was supposed to be a temporary bus route. 30 years ago, it was designated temporary, and it's never changed. Is there a plan to either downsize the buses, make it more efficient, change the route, shorten the time that the buses run? What is the ultimate plan? Because it's not utilized properly.
I know our ultimate plan is to improve connectivity with our rail system. And that's the ultimate plan. In the short run, and particularly after COVID, many of our lines are running light. But I will take that back to my folks and ask them to look at that specifically. I've been asking them to look at both places where we need more service and places where we can actually readjust and save some money and shift them to places where there are lots of demand. So Deborah, I will put that one on my list. I have a couple others that are in that same category, but I agree with you.
Okay, thank you. And I mean, even if you downsize it to something the size of a handy van, you would be able to serve the population.
Yeah, we could do that, and there's we did actually have the handy van providing that service initially, and then we upsized it to a regular bus. But I think that we could do something. It's in the industry, in the vernacular, it's called microtransit, and it tends to use vans that would probably be outsourced service.
Mm-hmm.
It could be operated by another operator, by a taxi company, by another bus operator, but it makes more sense in that area. Sometimes, even if it makes more sense, it's hard for the departments like mine to start a new program, because that would be viewed as a new program, even if ultimately it saves us money by providing a more cost-effective option. So please bear with me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We've gone a few minutes over, Roger. Thank you very much for your time, Director Morton. And if there are any additional questions, follow-up questions for those who are attending, just please send me an email and I'll make sure I get it to Director Morton. But again, thank you so very much for your time on this Saturday morning.
Yes, aloha to you too, Senator, and thank you to the community. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so now we, Maggie, you still with us? So first, I'd like to introduce my two year-round staffers. As many of you know, our session begins the third Wednesday of every January, ends the first week of May. You all know Meg Turner. She has been with me since 2014. Are you with us, Meg?
I'm here. Yes, I
Okay.
am. Thank you.
Okay. She's been my office manager during session for the past 8 years and community liaison during the interim when we're not in session. And so now she'll be my full-time office manager. And my new community liaison, who officially starts Monday, and she's already diving into her position by volunteering on a Saturday morning to be with us here today. And please welcome Genevieve Pomerantz. Genevieve, are you here?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, all right. There's Genevieve. Happy to have her on board. Sadly, my former office manager, Corinne Gallardo, she resigned this past Monday to spend more time helping her mom, who has some continuing challenges with dementia. So we thank Corinne for her dedication and for her service to our community and state. Okay, so let's get started with our community updates. And just as a reminder to folks, we are transitioning from Senate District 20 to Senate District 21. The new district will include Kapolei, Makakilo, and Kalailoa, and a portion of Fernandez Village and Eva villages. You can see there's the new map there. And it will include the 41st, 42nd, 43rd, and 44th House of Representative districts. Now the changes you'll see on the map, we no longer have Westlock or Waipahu. That's been cut out. And also Honokai has been added to it used to be part of Senate District 19 when I first got elected. It's taken away, now it's added back, as well as Campbell Industrial Park is added back. So next is many of you I hope got the survey that I sent out a few weeks ago asking for your input on community related issues and concerns. And so a big mahalo to everyone who took the time to answer. As our West Side continues to expand, the top issues that expressed were, one, the need for more affordable housing, the importance of additional health and education facilities. There's a strong consensus that high-rise condos and hotels lead to unwanted traffic congestion and population density. So I'd love to continue hearing from you about specific ways that I can address your concerns. There were, I think, about 68 people, 67, 68 people who responded. And the top three issues were, number one, cost of living, 52%. Number two, affordable housing, 30%. Number three, healthcare, 22%. And then the next one was, please select your top areas of concern when considering the growth in the Kapolei region and the impact on the Kapolei, Makakilo, and Kalailoa communities. And we had the top three: crime, 30%, infrastructure, 23%, traffic, 19%. And then the next slide, what are your concerns, if any, regarding new development in West Oahu? And the top three were increased traffic, 74%, density, less open spaces, 44%. And a close third were crowded neighborhoods, 38%, community engagement in the process, 37%, and urban sprawl, 34%. I think since I got elected in 2006, that 74% increased traffic has been consistently at the top of the list over the years, and it continues to be at the top of the list. Okay, and then in addition to the need of more affordable housing, what do you think is the most important for our community at this time? Healthcare facilities, 43%. Commercial growth to match residential growth is 37%, and schools is 30%, 37%, tied. Next, what would you not want in a new development? And the top three: high-rise condos, 61%, hotels, 42%, higher density, 50%. And then the next slide, in your opinion, do you think gun control laws and regulations should be changed? Let's see, we had, let's see there, no, 45%, yes, 36%, and no opinion, 20%. And then next, do you think gambling should be legalized in Hawaii? And interesting, I surveyed this in 2020 and there was a clear no answer. The answers this time around in 2022, yes is 48% for legalized gambling, no is 45%, and not sure is 7%. And do you think recreational cannabis should be legalized in Hawaii? We had 47% saying yes, 44% saying no, and 9% unsure. So that's the, so far at least, that's the survey that was sent out recently. Then moving on to construction and development. I mentioned this last time briefly. I actually mentioned it in my newsletter. Dream House is Hawaii's newest and fastest growing public charter school. And it's right down the street actually from where I live in Kalailoa. It was founded in 2012 by a group of educators, parents, and community leaders who were basically committed to developing and launching a charter school that would empower homegrown leaders for Hawaii and our country and our world. So 60%, that's 60, of the students are Native Hawaiian, which is 4 times the average of local district schools. And so Dream House grades 6 through 8, that opened in 2019 with a class of 100 6th graders. That's the one that's just down the street. Now, the high school is temporarily located in a renovated fitness studio at Kapolei Marketplace with 100 9th graders. And so the latest update is that Dream House, they're partnered with Avalon Development, and they're developing a 3-story mixed-use building for the new Dream House High School. So the upper 2 floors will be the high school, with the ground floor occupied by retail space. And they're located on Avalon's 3-acre master plan Kapolei Pacific Center. And that already includes the U.S. Social Security admin and the Cole Academy, which is by, you can see the next slide, or maybe it was the previous slide. No, the last slide. Previous slide, yeah, there you go. So you can see it right there by, it's by the Kapolei Library. So they're anticipating, obviously supply chain delays, but even with those, they built that into their schedule, and they're looking at construction to begin in the spring of 2023 and completion by June of 2024. Okay, and then on to East Kapolei High School. So it was in 2014 when the Department of Education, they proposed to build a mega high school, right? Because Campbell and Kapolei high schools are maxing out. In the next 5 years, Campbell is expected to grow to 3,500 students. Kapolei High School is expected to grow to 2,300 students. And so the new high school is going to be located at the corner of H1 and Kolaka'i Parkway. It'll be on the east side. In 2020, the legislature appropriated $3 million for design and planning and construction for the new school. And so the first phase will open in phases with as early as 2026. There was $355 million that was set aside in the budget. And so, it'll be interesting because they're applying for funding from the school, from the, there's a federal agricultural grant. It would be a first of its kind funding for that. And so they're applying for that. Last year, we set up a new, what's called the SFA, the School Facilities Authority. Many of the legislators were, and many folks out there were very disappointed and basically pissed off about the long list of maintenance issues that are not being taken care of. So anyway, this new School Facilities Authority was created in 2021 at the legislature. And so the new guy that's the executive director, he was just named a few months ago, is Chad Farias. And so he's from the Big Island. They've given him $100,000, not him, but the SFA, the School Facilities Authority, to look at the USDA rural development approach going that way in terms of funding. And the legislature also allotted $200 million to the SFA to accelerate new preschool facilities. You probably saw that in the news for DOE school plans that are being transferred over. Okay, and I know it's a bit bittersweet because we talked about traffic, the concern about potential traffic congestion. I was there. And then moving on to Hawaiian Humane Society, located at the corner of Fort Weaver and Old Fort Weaver Road, for all of you animal lovers. Oh, hi, Riley. $28 million. It's on 5.5 acres of the Ho'opili master plan that D.R. Horton gifted the parcel to the Hawaiian Humane Society in 2017. It's going to have a 2-story, as you can see, main building there that'll offer a full range of core services, including adoptions, animal admissions, veterinary care, and spay and neuter services. It's going to feature 3 dog pavilions, 2 cat pavilions, a small animal pavilion, and 2 gazebos, among other features, and a community dog park, which will be open to the public. So it's estimated that 60% of West Oahu residents currently have pets, and that number is expected to increase over time. Construction is going well. You can see the beginnings of the dog pavilions, the night kennels, and the classroom. There's a critical piece of electrical equipment apparently that's been delayed because of supply chain issues. So it pushes back their opening, as they cannot pass fire inspection until that electrical equipment arrives. So the completion is expected by the end of 2022, with the doors opening April 2023. And then with that, we will switch on to, Kalailoa. Okay, we have this last one on Kalailoa construction update. There's nearly 8-acre site along Bougainville Avenue and Nassau Street, and it was been graded and improved with recycled asphalt. This summer, the crews are widening the drainage basins and paving the site to prepare it for Servco to use as a vehicle processing center later this summer. So Hunt Company is the owner of the land. They're working with SHPD, the State Historic Preservation Division, and Honua Consulting to ensure that the areas are clear of cultural significance, including burial sites that are identified, respected, and protected. And with that, I will go to Q&A. We have a few minutes, about 7 minutes left for Q&A. So if there's any questions, now is your time. Let's see here. All right, any questions? I thought it was really good having Director Morton here, as we had Lori Kaikina from HART last month. And the feedback that I've gotten from community folks is that they really appreciate having the one-on-one. It beats calling up their office and getting put on a waiting list or not being heard back from. But I think it's important because these heads of various agencies, they get to see face-to-face and hear from you folks, what are your main issues? And good, John Rogers, that you got your, appreciate all your work you're doing on the bikeways. We'll continue to work on those. And again, I will, because I hear from you folks about whether it's Makakilo Drive Extension or bikeways or whatever the issue might be, it helps me to work in turn with these department heads and of these agencies in terms of priorities. I just, yeah. Okay, so any questions? So we have a question from Rose. Hi, Rose, what's up?
I wanted an update on whatever they're building across from Walmart. I think it has something to do with veterans.
Yes, you're right. That is, let me see if I got my update here. Let's see. That's the Daniel Akaka, the official name. Let me see if I got the latest update here. Mhm. Okay. Still looking. Yes, that is the Daniel Akaka Veterans Affairs Center. The concrete foundation has been, you can see the buildings coming up. I don't have a completion date right. Meg, do you have that offhand? I can't find that. That's the Dananoy Veterans Affairs. There's two, because there's the Daniel Akaka Veterans Affairs Clinic. That's down in Kailua, right in back of, on the Mackay side of Costco. But the one, Meg, do you have the update on the?
Yeah, I went ahead and put that in your signal.
Oh, okay. Let me just check my signal. Okay, yeah, so construction on that started in April of 2021. There'll be 120 large private rooms with private bathrooms. It's the second state veterans homes. They're going to offer skilled nursing, intermediate care facility beds to provide long-term care services, plus geriatric mental health, dementia, Alzheimer's care, rehab, therapies, hospice, respite, and adult daycare. They'll target long and short-term stay veteran populations and eligible spouses and Gold Star parents. Currently, they are 45% complete, and they are on track for completion April 11th, 2023. And it'll be open to all veterans who live in Hawaii. Opening for patients on October 9th of 2023. 2 stories, 130,000 square feet. They're adding a full pharmacy to the design plans.
I'm just gonna leave it there and see what happens.
Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, any other questions?
Can I have
Okay,
a follow-up?
Yes, go ahead, Rose.
What is the plan for the vacant spot next to it on the corner of, across from Walmart and,
What is that one? I didn't hear you, Rose.
what is the plan for the vacant space next to it on the corner?
Oh, on the corner. To my knowledge, I'm not sure. Let me double check on that. I'll get back to you, Rose. Okay. And then Joe Page, and then John Rogers.
Yeah, very, very briefly, don't want to sound like a broken record, but the Makakilo Drive extension, it is priorities. And I think it's easy for anyone to recognize there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of dependencies involved. But it's been going on for a couple of decades. And we really appreciate the interest in having, a program like this. And I hope we won't be doing this 5 years from now or 10 years from now. We'll see. But in addition to the key, again, the key issue for me is the safety. I got grandkids in Makakilo, I want them to be as safe as possible. But the related issues, it involves transportation and time saved for people that live here, driving home and to work and gas, and not to mention that. And we just really appreciate whatever emphasis you can apply from your perspective, Senator Gabbard, and appreciate again the time for doing this today. You can see the interest is here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joe. And, I thought that was really a important point that Mr. Welch brought up about Campbell Industrial and the chemicals and I mean.
That's new.
Yeah, that's new. Exactly. So that's why these meetings are so important, to get everybody's input, right? Okay, we're just about out of time here. I'll take one more, and then John Rogers.
So I just want to say thank you. And I feel a closeness to Kapolei and Makakilo. I live in Eva, I'm an neighborhood board guy, but I really feel that we are really one big community and we just got these weird boundaries. Second thing, just please, Senator, look at Kapolei Parkway and Kulakai. Yeah, Kulakai, and right in front of the Kamakana Alihi. That intersection for pedestrians is, I use that intersection a lot, and it's kind of scary for pedestrians. And I feel with the rail station opening up, and I've watched the kids from going from the middle school coming back home. Luckily, they got their new middle school in Ho'opili, but so that's kind of changed up. But that intersection is really dangerous. And I've been talking to HDOT about it and just trying to get some changes or someone to look at it to say there's got to be a better way for pedestrians, because too many times I've almost been run over, like the cars making the right-hand turns. There's 2 lanes from Kapolei Parkway to turn on to Kulakai, and they don't see you. I mean, they just are zipping around there. And same with going from Kulakai to Kapolei Parkway going west. Same kind of situation, and you're trying to cross to go to the mall or whatever. But that's fine. Thank you, sir.
We'll check it out, John. Okay, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Our next listen story, I think, Meg, September 17th.
17th.
September 17th. We'll just check it out and get that word out to you. Again, thank you for sacrificing an hour of your time on a Saturday morning. We'll see you next time, okay? Aloha. If we got any follow-ups, please send an email, because then we can always get back to you if we did not get to you today, okay? Mahalo, everyone. Have a great weekend. Aloha.